Oh, you know, oh, sorry. Yeah, Eddie, I have your seats. Eddie, one piece.
You need plates. Why can't we use plates here, Eddie? Come on.
What about Eddie?
Let's count.
Okay,
Block should be eaten with plates. It's very unappealing. You need a napkin now? Your hands are all dirty. Catch the Gemaras on there.
Oh, Eddie. Line it up.
Very good.
Here goes that. Pictures.
Oh, okay. I only had one.
All right.
Very good.
All right, we got to get moving today. Today's a typical Gemara, so we're not going to be able to do it justice. In the limited time we have, a lot of big sugyas we have here. So today is Daf Yirches. Yirches is today. So I think we left off at Tanur Rabbanan. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Maybe around 7 lines from the bottom.
Yirches.
Yud Ches is today's daf in Baba Kama. We left off at Yud Zayin and Beis. So Tanur Rabbanan, Tarnagolim Shahayu Mechatin Bechevel Delik. Right. So if you have over here, we have chickens that are going pecking at a rope, right? Holding a pail. Please, share. Right. The nimsak a chevel and it breaks v'nishbar hadui, and then the bucket breaks. Mishalom nezek shalom. You go ahead and you pay nezek shalom. So by Rava, Rava asks a question. So darsa al kli v'loish rasa. Let's say an animal was going ahead and hopping on top of a kli and it doesn't break. And it's galgal, then it rolls right after the animal was hopping on it. L'malkam acher v'nishbar. Then afterwards it rolls in a way and it breaks. Mahu. Do we say that it goes after the beginning? In other words, and therefore, in other words, and therefore it came from the animal itself. Or do we say that no, that it wasn't the initial right kayak of the goof of the animal, and therefore it's basically is almost like a secondary damage, and therefore it'd be like pebbles. In other words, a case of pebbles where it's not from the direct kayak of the animals. So over here it would be like a case of stros. So Gemara says, "Teach me the Rabbah." Let's learn from that which Rabbah said. Dama Rabbah zarkli meray shagag ubach b'shavru. So a person went ahead and threw a cleat down from a roof and it's about to shatter. Someone goes ahead and as it's falling, takes a baseball bat and swings at it, and he hits it before it breaks in the ground. So putter. He is patur. Damrin lay because we tell him right? He says I broke a broken thing. It was already destined to be broken, so therefore I didn't do anything, right? So the Gemara says, so the Rabbah pshitale. According to Rabbah, yeah, it's pashut that he be patur. However, the Rabbah it was a question. So Tashma, come and listen. We're actually going to introduce this brisa 3 different times, referring to different questions we have on these sugyas. Zehida saying a muad v'yeshem ha'merez muad. So the brisa says if the animal is hopping, right, or the chicken is hopping, it's not muad. And some say harez muad. It is muad. So Gemara says he does hopping. That's hopping is the normal movement for the chicken, and it hops along. Is he does Elalav he does rather we're talking about a case of he does vehitis, right? Rather we're talking about no, it's hopping, and then it goes ahead and it goes ahead and it causes something to go ahead and the cleat to go ahead to go flying, right? So it's hopping on it and doesn't break it while jumping on it, but it only breaks after it shoots off. Which sorry, yeah, right? Yeah. So it goes out and it flies. Yeah, a little too well, right? I had the cuts we used to play, right? We said, over here, maybe it's the machlokes. The Marsava the one says that Eina Muad, and you go against the beginning. No, since it broke, then therefore that's so we would say in that case that according to the Yeshomrim would say Basar Meikara, we go after the beginning, therefore it was caused by the animal, therefore you decide. And according to the Tanakama, you putter because you go after when it broke and it didn't break it directly. So Gemara says, no, that's not the case. No, really, this is a case of where not when the kli went flying and broke, rather when it was hopping, it was jumping, and it caused pebbles to go ahead and break a kli. It looks like the sumkos v'rabbanan, and this machlekes is machlekes of sumkos and rabbanan. which I'll explain 1 second. According to Simchus, Stroros is Chayiv Nezek Shalom. All right, that is one we have like 5 different yisods today. One of the yisods is, according to Simchus, that Sroros is Nezek Shalom. So therefore, over here, if it's a case of Sroros, then that's the reason, that's the machlokes over there in the Brisa, where the Yeshamrim say, Hareza Muad, is because you're Chayiv Nezek Shalom. And according to the Tanakama, they hold it Rabbanan, they hold that Sroros, right, which we hold is Chatzi Nezek. So let's try another case. So Tashma, 2 lines in the top. Time to go and show you mechatin bechevel. So if you have to go ahead, you have the chickens there pecking over there at a rope. A bechevel delete. The nifsak a chevel, then the rope breaks. The nishbar delete, and then it breaks. The shalom nezek shalom. You go ahead and you pay full nezek. It didn't do it, right? And I was just poking the rope, right? So it pays nezek shalom. So you see that it goes even after the end. So that it goes after the beginning. In other words, that it caused it in the beginning, since it caused the initial. So therefore, you are chayv nezek shalom. So when I answer says no, tirgo, what does it mean? You're chayv nezek. This is achevel. Means the chayv nezek for the damage to the rope. It says I chevel mashuna. But this is a case of mashuna. Why is something which is mashuna now all of a sudden we're getting into a gray zone? Once you talk about mashuna, right, abnormal, all of a sudden you get into the discussion of Karen, goring. In other words, if something is abnormal, right, then you pay chatzi nezek, and you don't pay nezek shalom. So if something is abnormal, then you wouldn't pay for nezek shalom, assuming that it's still tam. It's not his first time. So if it's mashuna,
yeah, but right? It happened by grama because it wasn't directed.
So right, but over here we're defining it. No, we're talking about the rope. The rope, it was direct. The rope. We said on the rope. It says that was the Gemara tried to deflect and say we're talking about the rope. But this is abnormal. So why would you be chayiv for the rope? Nezek shalom. You should be only chayiv for chatzi nezek with the rope. Like what do you mean? Oh, like a kanas, right? Well, either way, but the point was that you're not paying nezek shalom, right? Whether it's it's a kanas or it's mamon, right? Correct, but the point is it should be chatzi nezek. So Gemara says no, but it's belisha. It wasn't abnormal, right? There was dough on the rope, so therefore it was normal behavior. It says there that the bucket broke. We're talking about the bucket. Rather, this is kind of the case of sumchus, right? Which is a damar tzrara is nezek shalom. Maybe it's indirect, and therefore it's like the case of pebbles, and therefore it's nezek shalom according to the shita of sumchus, which I said is going to be one of the themes of today.
So it is more like Brahma.
Yeah, but that wasn't what the Gemara was saying when you said it, right? So because the Gemara was saying it was talking about the rope, right? So the Gemara says sumchus aim a seifa. If we're talking about the sumchus, let's take a look at the seifa. It is a mimenu shaver v'nafal al kli acher. Let's say a piece broke off that it broke off, and it broke another kli, the shaver, and it broke the second kli. Al rishon for the first one, mishalim nezek shalim. You pay full damages. The acharon mishalim chatzi nezek. For the second one, you go ahead and pay chatzi nezek. And the sumchus, and every time about the case of sumchus, mi say chatzi nezek. Right, sumchus doesn't hold so as a chatzi nezek. So if something breaks from the force of something else, which was originally caused by the damager, right, stroros is nezek shalom. There's no chatzi nezek. So if this price is sumchus, you can't say that because he's chatzi nezek. The v'chi temashani leila sumchus bei nezek kaycho the kayach kaycho. If you say there's a difference between the sumchus and ours, damage from his kayach the kayach kaycho. Well, it even comes out from it. Maybe sumchus in this case would say it's chatzi nezek. Velo ha the boy Rav Ashi. The simkus, right? Something that comes not even from the kuf, but from the kayach of the according to simkus. Is it kayach dami? Is it kayach dami, which would say yichayiv nezek shalim, or la kayach dami, or it's not, and therefore you be putter. So tifshat lei, right? The la kayach dami. Let's say over here that it's not kayach dami, because if that would be the case, it would be chayiv nezek shalim. So ella, so if that's the case, we can learn from here. So ella, by the fact that it said ella rabbanani. Rather, let's say this is according to Shita Rabbanan and Basar me Kara as Linan, and we go after the beginning of the process. In other words, you go after the beginning, which was caused by the initial animal. And Amar Rav Bibi bar Abaye de Kazil Mine Mine. It says over here that no, maybe not. Maybe we're talking about over here where it wasn't that the something that came from the koyach of the koyach. Maybe here that there was constantly jumping on it, and it was considered to be from Magufo even to the second point, and therefore it's not considered to be indirect, but maybe it's direct, and that's why you be chayiv nezek shalom. So that was the deflection. Now, next case, sort of middle of the page of Yuches Samad Aleph. Maybe 43% of the way down. Boy, Rava has a question. I don't know. It's like almost a half, but it's not a half yet. So, boy, Rava. All right. I might go back and count how many lines and then see exactly what it is. Fine. So, boy, Rava, excuse me. Chatzi nezek tsaros. Now we're getting even complicated. I was telling the Levi Kama before. This is like all of Baba Kama, like in one block. So, chatzi nezek tsaros. This part that we say tsaros, you pay chatzi nezek, right? Megufo mishalim. Do you go ahead and pay from Megufo, from the thing that caused the damage? In other words, let's say I have to pay Chatzi Nezek, and I ruined the Mona Lisa, right? But the animal that destroyed the Mona Lisa was worth $100. So maybe I have to pay, whatever it is, $10 million, right? And which is half of $20 million. But it's limited from the animal that caused the damage. So the animal's a $100 animal. So okay, here's $100. So is it Megufo? In other words, do we say that the maximum amount is from the damager, or Maliyah Mishalim, right? Or do we say that you have to come out of the pocket to get up to Chatzi Nezek, or Maliyah Mishalim? Meguva Mishalim Delosh Chatzi Nezek Mishalim Maliyah. Right? Do we say that you have to pay from the animal itself? Because we don't find where Chatzi Nezek is paid from out of pocket. In other words, all the standard case of Chatzi Nezek is Keren, right? So Keren, Gori, and we know that is Megufo. Right, so therefore, any case of Chatzi Nezek is Migufo, and therefore you would go ahead and it would not be out of pocket. Or maybe like this: that in the case of Karen, the reason why you pay Chatzi Nezek is because it's abnormal. It's abnormal, so you only pay from the damaging animal. But if something was the normal behavior, i.e., walking and kicking up stones, right, which is orche, maybe there you pay out of pocket, right? So there's two different types of Chatzi Nezek, and each one has a different quality, right? One is that it's abnormal, right, and therefore the other one is it's indirect. So Tashma, come listen. Now we're doing the same price again as we brought earlier. He does say muad. If an animal, the chicken is hopping, it's in muad. The yeshemim harei muad. It is muad. So he does something. That's what an animal hopping is not muad. That's how the animal the chicken travels, right? Elad he does vehitis, right? Maybe we're talking about over here when it was it was jumping, right, and it hit pebbles. Here's the machlokes. When it says it's enamuad, it's kasaver, it's like tam, and therefore megufa mishalim, just like a tam is from megufa mishalim. So over here is megufa mishalim. Well, the other one says muad, kasaver me'aliyah mishalim. The other one says no, you pay out of pocket, just like a muad, you pay out of pocket. The one says no. Pluk said the sumchus of Rabbana Kamifli. No, they're not arguing over here how you pay Chatzi Nezek. They're arguing over here whether you pay Nezek Shalim or Chatzi Nezek in the case of Tzoros, which is the machlokes between Rabbanan and Sumchus. Sumchus says you pay Nezek Shalim, and the Rabbanan say we pay Chatzi Nezek.
What is Tzoros?
Pebbles. Pebbles. So those animals walking and it kicks up pebbles and it breaks something.
It pays 100%. And if it's abnormal, it won't have.
Not according to their button, because even though it's normal to walk, but it's indirect. So indirect, you only pay half, according to the Rabban. So Tashma, come listen, let us learn for this case. Hakelav Shanata Charara, so a dog that took a biscuit, which is normal, and took a hot biscuit, right, off the coals, and it took it to a big bundle of hay, right? The achal hachrara, and it eats it, v'hidlikas hagadish, and it goes ahead and it burns down the hay. So alachra for eating the stolen biscuit, mishalim nezek shalom. Then you go ahead and pay nezek shalom. However, valagadish, but for the this bale of hay, mishalim chatzi nezek. You only pay chatzi nezek in this case. So my time, what's the reason? La mishum dahavi l'hut tzoros. Is it not indirect? It's tzoros. But Tanya led and says there mishalim chatzi nezek. You pay over there, and we learn over there, it says in the price over there, that we pay Chatzi Nezek Migufo. You pay only Chatzi Nezek, right, from the goof of the animal. So, in this case, So so what do you see over here? So you see that the Chatzi Nezek is going ahead and is only paid for Migufo in a case of Soros. So Soros is just like Karen, right? So the says, but does this make sense? Is this pshat? The Rabbi Elazar Nezek Shalim Megufa Miyashka. So according to Rabbi Elazar, right, in another machlokas, he says in another case that in this case you pay Nezek Shalim, right? So it says Migufo Miyashkan. If we're talking about over here where you pay Migufo, so in this case he holds you pay Nezek Shalim. We don't find anywhere where you pay Nezek Shalim Migufo, when you pay for the full damages, but only limited to the amount of the damaging animal. So Ella Kigain the Shani. So now maybe we're talking about a case of not over here where the animal took the biscuit and the biscuit set on fire, which is tsaras. Maybe the animal did something abnormal to Shani Baha, right? No, maybe it took the coal. Animals don't take coals in their mouth, right? It took the coal in the mouth, and then it put it over there, and then therefore that was abnormal behavior, right? And maybe that's why it's migufo, because it was It was abnormal, just like Karen is abnormal. So God says, Rabbi, that's a seven like Rabbi Tarfon. He holds like Rabbi Tarfon. The Amar. So if that's the case, why is he paying Nezek Shalim? So maybe he holds like Rabbi Tarfon. The Amar Meshuna Karen b'Chatzer Nizak Nezek Shalim Mishalim, because he holds that even though it's abnormal behavior, if it took place in the Rishus of the Nizak, then you would indeed go ahead and pay full payment. However, below, right, you can't say this. Why? So my time, why did you want to say it was like Rabbi Tarfon Meshum Nezek Shalim, right? Because you pay Nezek Shalim, because Rabbi Tarfon holds that even though it's Meshuna, right, it's abnormal behavior, but since it took place in the property of the Nizak of the right, so therefore you pay Nezek Shalim. So there's a sabbath kasumkos down at Sores Nezek Shalim Mishalim, right? So Rabbi Elazar holds like sumkos that says no, a case at Soros, right, indirect, you pay Nezek Shalim. Right? You pay the Saber law, Rabbi Yehuda. The Amar Tzad Thomas become a medes. Migufo Atzad Thomas. In other words, like this. According to Rabbi Yehuda, right? So we have another machlekes who says that that's what we say when the tam goes ahead and pays, right? So the portion a tam pays half, the muad pays full. So when a muad pays, right? Is he paying his own payment of one full payment? Or do we say that you pay the tam and then you pay the other half to make it nezek shalim? What's the nafkamina? The nafkamina would be that the first half is migufo. In other words, the first half is limited to migufo, and then everything else is me'aliyah, right? In other words, that if you don't even have that, in other words, that only half would come out of pocket, not the first half of the tam. And the chitani migufo atzad tamus. And then maybe that which he says that you go ahead and you pay from the dog itself was only talking about the tam part, right? The tam part you pay out of, but not the nezek shalim is going out of pocket, is from Megufo. Maybe it was only the tam portion was Megufo, and that's what it meant for the dog that you pay from the gufo of the dog. So I'm going to Rav Samad B'Rei Rav Ravina. I aim at the Shmias later Rabbi Yehuda b'tam v'nasa muad. So yes, we do say that tam you pay migufo and then you tack on the full nezek of me'aliyah from out of your pocket. But that's only talking about a case of where an animal was a tam and then became a muad. However, muad b'tchilaso, but something that the animal was muad from the beginning. In other words, this is not a case of where you go from tam to nezek shalim because it went from because it came a muad. This animal was muad li'elam and didn't repeat its actions in order to say it at the time. So the Gemara says, so if Rabbi Yehuda in this case, mishmiyaslei, whoever heard that whoever said in this case that Rabbi Yehuda would say that you would pay right migufo if for the first half if it was never a tam. It was never a tam in this situation. So Elok Yikama Rabbi Eliezer. So which Rabbi Elazar says nezek shalem can go in the eye. Right? Maybe where Rabbi Elazar says you have to go ahead and pay for the full amount, right? Is where we're talking about where it was muad. In other words, the animal has done this multiple times, right? In other words, it's like this. Maybe you can hold like this. Now we're combining more concepts, right? In the Masechta. So Srora, we know when it comes to muad. So muad is a thing by Gor, Karen, right? But maybe it's Sroros, could be something that can start as tam, which you pay normally chatzi nezek for tzoros, but if you do it multiple times, it becomes muad. It's natural.
It happens to be if you happen to eat a thing. So
right. So,
strange muad.
But Rabbi Elazar holds that you pay full nezek, right? So you hold full nezek by tzoros, even though it's indirect. Excuse me. No, right. But in this case, Rabbi Elazar holds that you pay full amount. So why is he holding this full amount? So maybe he means the full amount is because tzoros, if you do it 3 times, it becomes muad, and then so the Gemara is going to deflect and say like you, right? So the Gemara says, so Marsava yesh hadol tzoros, so Marsava ain't tzoros. Because it's Ella, but if that's the case, Ella had the boy Rava yesh hadol tzoros ain't hadol tzoros, right? So but it was a question, right? That Rava asked a question: is there such thing as can an animal be muad when it comes to tzoros or not? And therefore, basically, elevate it from chatzi nezek to nezek shalim. So either Rabbanan, hey, tzoros. If it's according to Rabbanan, we say there is no hadol tzoros. Either Rabbi Elazar, yesh hadol tzoros. And then we'd say, but according to Rabbi Elazar, like we were just saying now, there's hadol tzoros. Rava kim ba'li lididi. That which I ask, I'll leave it to Rabbanan, the pligal the thumkus, right? That's only according to the Rabbanan that he asks. According to the Rabbanan who holds that chatzi nezek you pay by tzuros, then maybe there's muad or not. However, bein the Rabbanan, bein the Rabbi Elazar, kasub chasvirlu, right? They both hold as soon as darmat tzuros nezek shalim b'shalim. That you go ahead and you pay the full nezek. The time of Mayim Rabbanan chatzi nezek. What's the reason Rabbanan say chatzi nezek? The shani blow yayid, because over here it was abnormal behavior and it was not muad. Over here we're talking about a case of where, since it occurred over there, according to Rabbi Tarfon, you wouldn't need to come out to say that you paid nezek shalim because it was muad. Rather, you say because it occurred in the place of the nizak. And the Rabbanan was, and therefore they would argue, Rabbanan would say you still pay chatzi nezek in such a case. So the Gemara says, "Eimer the shmias later tarfon nezek shalim megufo." Excuse me, the eimer the Rabbi tarfon the nezek shalim. So migufo mishmias lay. So yes, that which we said over there, that you do go ahead according to pay nezek shalim, but who says it's migufo? In other words, we only normally find when you pay your nezek shalim, you have to pay the full damages. That means whatever the damages are, you have to pay out of pocket. But how could you go ahead and say you pay full damages, but only to the limit of the animal? We don't find that. Mar says, yes, we do. So mehecha ma'isila. So where do we know that? Right? Where do we know chatzi nezek? Right? Mehecha ma'isila. Mekeren mershus rabim. Right? From goring shus rabim. That's the case of a keren. And dayalav amiradin liyos kinida. In other words, since you're learning from goring, so therefore goring is migufo. So because you were learning from goring over here is muad, even though it's nezek shalem, it should still be megufo because we're learning it from the case of keren. Rabbi Tarfon let's say dio, but normally Rabbi Tarfon does not hold like dio. So kilesle, in other words, that which we learn out from another case, you apply all the different attributes to it. So kilesle dio the mifra kavachemer. We can ask the kavachemer. However, hechad or mifra kavachemer is not dio. But if you can't go ahead and ask on it, then you do not say dio. In other words, isle dio. He would say dio, and therefore, since we're learning from keren, right? So this is the case of muad, and therefore, and it was muad, right? Tam and muad is paid migufo. So therefore, if you hold that there is you could be muad litzroros and you pay nezek shalem, it could still be megufo of the animal and not me'aliyah. So gufa, boy, rabba, now there's a different type of gufa, not the gufa of the animal, rather gufa, right? We said earlier, boy, rabba, yesh hadol latzoros, ein hadol latzoros. So the keren minile, do we go ahead and compare it to keren? I did about tolod of shein, or maybe it's a tolod of shein, and therefore something. Right, something which is shane, right, which is normal behavior, right, like Alan was pointing out before, it's normal behavior for Alan to walk. It always picks up pebbles. So too, you can't have something which is muad when it comes to tsaros, just like by shane, there's no, it's muad from day one. So Tashma, come on, listen. Now we're going to bring the same brisa. He does ain't a muad v'yeshem harei a muad. If an animal, the chicken is hopping, it's ain't a muad, and some say it isn't. Then the yeshem say it is muad. He just look at that, say it's hopping. It's always hops. Eloi. Hedus v'hitis. Rather, no. It was hopping, and then the stones flew out. So my lav could go diava plus azime maybe this is machlokes over here by muad. In other words, the first one says ain't a muad. In other words, you can't be a muad when it comes to tzoros, and you always pay chatzi nezek. And the other one would say no, harez muad means that it's already done it 3 times, and therefore you pay nezek shalim. And Marsav yesh hada, Marsav ein hada. So the Gemara says, "Lo bechad zina." We're talking about one time. Over here, they're talking about when it kicks pebbles, whether it's muad or not, whether you pay the full or not, which is machlokes. Once again, we want to keep saying the same price is machlokes between the sumkos and the rabban. So Tashma, come on, listen. Listen, animal went, went to the bathroom, right? On an Isa. Yeah. Well, let's see, right? So it goes ahead and goes. It's like like the little kitty litter, whatever it is, right? So it goes on the dough. It goes to the bathroom on the dough. So Rabbi Yehuda Amar Mishalim Nezek Shalim. You pay full Nezek. The Rabbi Elazar Omer Chatzi Nezek. You pay Chatzi Nezek. So what's the machlokes? My love could go into Abba Tlas Azino. Well, maybe we're talking about right. It's abnormal, but maybe it was done 3 times, and that's the machlokes over here. Mar Savar Yesh Ha'ada. One says that there could be Ha'ada, and therefore it was Muad, and therefore you'd say Mishalem Nezek or Nezek Shalem. Mar Savar in Ha'ada. No, there is no Ha'ada with this by going to the bathroom on it, and therefore you only go ahead and pay Chatzinat. Once again, Mar says low. We're talking about one time. So over here, since it's not coming from the koyach of the animal, rather it comes from something from the animal. So therefore, it's like soros, and therefore the rabbanon hold it's like muad, and therefore you chayiv nezek shalim, and therefore not muad, but he holds it's nezek shalim soros, and the other holds chatzi nezek because soros. So the rest says I b'ha mashunahi soros. The number one quality of soros is its normal behavior. But over here, this is abnormal for behavior for an animal to go to the bathroom on a piece of dough. Right. The Gemara says, no, over here, we're talking about a place of where basically the animal was confined in its pen and the dough was underneath it. So therefore, it was normal behavior. It wasn't like the animal went over to the dough and went to the bathroom on it, right? Rather, it was forced to go on it. So Rabbi Huda halacha kasumkus. So let each one say, why does Rabbi Huda say, right, that Nezek Shalem and Rabbi Elazar says Chatzi Nezek? Just say one is halachas like Sumchas, and the other one says halachas like Rabbi Rabbanan. So Gemara says, no, Glolim means strictly we need a chiddush from Glolim, right, for them to go to the bathroom, right? So Kadai Sakamina Hoyo Ubasar Gufe Garina and Gufe Dami, right? So you say that. You might think that galalim, right, for the animals to go to the bathroom, right? The dung that comes from the animal is like the animal itself. Kamash Malon, it's not like the animal from itself. It's like soros coming from the feet of the animal. And finally, Toshmak, listen, the Tani, Rabbi Yecheskel, Tarnagol Shishi Reisha La'ofir Klizvuchis. You have a rooster, sticks its head into a glass jar, Vitaka, and it goes kakadul do, and Bo'u Shabro, and then it goes out and it breaks it. Mishalim Nezek Shalom, then you pay full damages. I'm Rabbi Yosef, I'm a Rabbi Rab. Similarly, Sush Tzanat V'Chamar Shinar V'Shivas Akedim. You have a horse that neighed, or a donkey that also right, he makes noise and breaks the glass. Mishalim Chatzi Nezek. So you only pay half Nezek. So my law could go David plus Zimne. So we had one case of you pay Nezek Shalem. And then another one says the case of Chatzi Nezek. So what's the difference? So is it not maybe we're talking about a case of Muad, right? One was done it 3 times, and therefore you pay Nezek Shalem. The other one says the first time it was done is only Chatzi Nezek. One says there is Muad for something indirect for Tzoros, and the other one says no, there's no such thing as Muad, and therefore even if you still pay Chatzi Nezek. So our answer is in the low. Bechad Zina, we're talking about it was a one-time occurrence. It's a one-time occurrence. And it's indirect. It's like Tzoros, and therefore the one who says Nezek Shalem is like Sumchos, and the one who says Chatzi Nezek is like the Rabbanan. Bahai Mashuna. The one last question. The question is is Mashuna. It's abnormal behavior for it to go ahead and go towards a glass vessel and make this noise in order to break it. So where it says the isba, at least in the case of the chicken, to put its head inside and to break it. Versus no, the isba bizrani, right? There were seeds inside the glass, and therefore it was normal behavior, and therefore you can't differentiate between this and saros because saros is normal behavior, and so to this case of it, making its natural noise also normal behavior. And as a machlekes of nezek shalom chati nezek, machlekes between the sukkos and the rabbanan, and shkach. It's very nervous about today's day.
What makes the sound in the glass?